Well, hello, everyone. Glad to see there are already almost 24 people at the start of this. That's a good feeling. So how are y'all doing today? I hope everyone is having a good Sunday, and I'm hoping that more of you were able to get to Mass this Sunday than a lot of us were able to last Sunday. It seems that around the United States and then presumably outside the United States, more people are being able to get back to Mass for the first time and access the most blessed sacrament of the altar, which, after you go a long period without it, your life begins to feel very, very off-kilter. Most of us don't realize how much we rely on the Blessed Sacrament until, we've been deprived of it. So, hello again to everyone, and I'm hoping everyone is well. No lies. Oh, you're a displaced Okie. I don't call myself an Okie. I moved to Oklahoma to go work for the one Catholic university that had been in Oklahoma, which then closed 8 months after I arrived. So, Doctor Who 1980 is back this week. Good. Still closed in Southern California. Yeah, I've heard that California has kind of lost its mind a little bit about this stuff. There are now some experts talking about possibly the need for a second round of lockdowns later in the year. They don't understand that if they try that, it's going to get really messy very quick, that people are not going to put up with it. Hello to you, CF Fueling. Don't call me Dr. Cheap Guy. I will let you guys know once my dissertation thing is done how that all goes, or how it will have gone. But for now, I'm just keeping it close to the chest. So let's take a look at everyone's favorite website to take a look at. I've got, in the coming couple of days, prelates of the church have been releasing letters chastising the leadership of the church for its response to the current crisis. So I've got that. I will be having a video later in the week, I think, talking about the celebration of everyone's favorite papal encyclical and how we're going to have like a year-long celebration of Laudato Si. Huzzah, huzzah, huzzah. I'm excited if you can't tell. Churches are still locked down in England, according to Byron. That's really sad. Greetings to you, Sean, in Ireland. Julius G is tired of the tyrants. JTJ, where is part 2 of what? JTJ. If you mean part 2 of like weird weather, that'll be coming later. I plan to do an update on it where I'll go much more in detail into what a solar minimum is. But I want to get all the details right because I know for a fact that the media in those stories that I was reporting on didn't. That's why I took the tone I did. Yes, CF Fueling, when I realized that California's capital was named after the most blessed sacrament, well, Thomas Hamilton, I have... it's weird. Okay, Thomas, I see why. I had to actually approve your comment there because you have to be a little more discreet on how you talk about things in the chat because it could be... we have a bunch of scolds who are basically in charge of running our glorious hosts here, and they tend not to like certain things. So, JTJ with this $1.99 super chat. Thank you, sir. It is appreciated. But so, Thomas, have I talked about how the president defined churches as essential, and funny how to the left when their Moloch worship and getting manicures are essential, but churches aren't? Yeah, it is ironic. Non-believers don't understand how churches are, essential. And I'm amazed at how many professed believers in our own religion say that they are, they believe, but they don't believe that it is essential. There's a disconnect, and it's something we all as Catholics have to work on. We have to work on that. If the laity do not believe that the accessing the sacraments is essential, then there's a serious problem with understanding the nature of the faith and the nature of what it is we're up against in this, in this world. Because right now we are dealing with a spiritual war. JTJ clarifying he was talking about the Antichrist. I plan to do that probably first week of June will probably be the second part of that Antichrist video, so hold on. I don't like to space my We Were Warned videos so close together because when I do, people don't tend to watch them as much. So that sounds like a terrible reason not to do it, but I just do. It's a I don't want my channel only to become like, the border, like what some people would call the paranoid stuff.
And when I make those videos, I'm not saying that we're doing, we got, the Antichrist is coming next week or anything. Don't take that to mean what I mean when I do those videos. Just so you understand what the church teaches on these things, so that you, like me, can laugh whenever someone says political figure that I don't like is the Antichrist, because that's ridiculous. Is the affliction over yet? Says Valentinus. Your is getting hard to clean. Unfortunately, no. I mean, we're noting, at least in my state, that we have fewer and fewer cases. I mean, every week, there are more cases, I guess, but the overall number of cases is going down and down and down and down. Thomas Keller, Laudato Si is the most effeminate document in Catholic history. I don't know about that. It's really a weird document. It really is. But go read Curidia Amazonia. If you haven't heard it, I read the whole thing for the channel because I got tired of Catholic commentators saying the document was all about X, Y, and Z when it was really mostly Laudato Si 2, green boogaloo. But go ahead and read it or listen to it if you want to. It's on the channel. That's worse because it's filled with really bad 70s era liberation theology poetry. To its credit, Laudato Si doesn't have any of that stuff. Timothy Dolan has not opened the churches in New York. Of course he hasn't. Of course he hasn't called out. The Moloch worshiper in chief in New York. If Hilaire was a lesser man, he'd be saying, "I told you so." I do wish we had figures like Belloc and Chesterton and others like them around today to point out what was going on and the absurdity of what we're seeing. I think the closest we might have is Charles Coulomb. That's about it. And if he's listening, my hat's off to you, sir. No, Thomas Keller, Cardinal Donut has not opened the churches. We keep New York in your prayers. They're going to be the ones who go the distance, I think. Byron James, it could be that that NASA could use a solar minimum as a great way of, they could use it for that, but I don't think NASA has any idea what we mean by the Great Sign. I don't think they're talking about that will be anything. They're going to probably try to write it off once it happens. Sinisterisa, I don't tell people which mass to go to. I don't think going to a Novus Ordo Mass is a sin. I don't tell people what Mass to go to, although I am strictly a traditional Latin Mass person, and I go strictly to ones provided by the various traditional Latin Mass groups so that we make sure that we don't get a group hug Jimmy Martin-style homily attached to a beautiful liturgy. But I don't tell people what Masses to go to. I'm not qualified. Thomas Hamilton, I agree that in that this is exposing the wicked agenda and putting it out for most people to see. I'm quite happy, but at the same time, so many people are going along with it. It's just so disturbing. No lies. I know they're banning the communion on the tongue, but that's actually a violation of canon law. They can't tell you that. Hello to Teresa. How do I feel about calling our Catholic priest father? I have no problem calling Catholic priest father at all. Catholic priests have been called father all the way back to Scripture. Simple as that. They refer to Abraham as a spiritual father, and St. Paul calls himself a spiritual father to the believers. There's nothing unscriptural about calling Catholic priests father. Period. End of story. C.F. Healing does not like calling Cardinal Donut because he likes donuts. Yeah, Dave, sure. I've heard that Connecticut has no open masses and that the Year 2 Institute of Christ the King Sovereign Priest parishes being only open for prayers, that's really sad. But the fraternity parishes here were like that too. McNeenan, yeah. A lot of people theorize about what the Antichrist is going to be like. I'm just not sure what it'll look like. He's going to be something. I suspect he's also going to be a peace worker. That's my suspicion. That the maniacs will get their war with Russia and the Middle Kingdom. They'll get that war that they've been pining for, and it's going to go very poorly. And then my suspicion is he'll show up to save civilization. Who knows though? Secular society is a leading cause of simps and behavior. Yes, I would definitely agree. Will I have anything more on the visions of Marie-Julie Jahenny? Yes, I just was doing too many of them too close together, so I'm going to take a bit of a brief break on that. But I'll be returning to Marie-Julie Jahenny some point in the summer. I have at least one more thing on Marie-Julie Jahenny that I want to do. But yeah, I would suggest that people try to get on the wait list for the purple scapular. There is a website with a purple scapular wait list. They get them out as soon as they get them. Let me see if I can tell you, get the email address some people want. I'm going to put it in the chat for people. I said I would do that for people, and then I sort of forgot. So in the chat, there it is. That's the email. Just tell them you want to get on the wait list for the purple scapular. When they get it, and if you want one, I think it's like maybe $20 or something. They're not exactly small. Man with no name, the church is subservient to the state. Well, it's not supposed to be, but that's what the wonderful leadership we have is doing. No lies, says Pastor Jimmy Martin of the Jesuit Church was on Fox News Friday advocating to keep churches closed. Yeah, he was out there counter-signaling the President of the United States on that. Again, I don't understand people who think that the keeping the churches closed and keeping the sacraments, people's access to the sacraments restricted is a good idea. Ray is correct. Speak up if you're told you cannot receive on the tongue. Of course, McNeenan, of the Antichrist, everything he will offer is, his father is the father of lies. So everything he will offer is nonsense. Yeah. Thomas Hamilton is correct about making fun of the call no man father thing, because we call our earthly fathers fathers, we call our spiritual fathers father. Christ is saying don't call anyone else father, as in God, as in with the first commandment. That is correct. No one on earth you should call God. So weird to have the priest face you after months of exclusive TLM attendance. I feel like pointing to the tabernacle saying, not me, him. Well, if you ever need help finding a traditional Latin Mass, go to just Google Latin Mass Locator. It gives you all the, gives you Fraternity, Institute, Christ the King, Diocesan options. For the other groups, you can find those easily on with a simple Google search. People have more options than they might think, actually. What site is that? It's for sacramentals.org is the one I was here that I've got the email address for. They have the purple scapular, and I've got one coming for myself for my home. I sent them an email, and about a week to 2 weeks later, they got back to me and said that they had one available for me. What is special about the purple scapular? It's supposed to be to help with protection during the 3 days of darkness. It's the Marie-Julie Jahenny talked about it. If the Antichrist is going to be charismatic, then that rules out Gates. Yeah, that's true. It would rule him out, wouldn't it? The Masses begin tomorrow in the Archdiocese of Cincinnati. Well, I'm glad they're opening back up in time for Pentecost, at least. The Eparchy of Parma did begin Divine Liturgy before Ascension. Good. Thomas Hamilton, I would generally agree with the sentiment that purposely separating yourself from the sacraments is probably not the best idea. Julie Lolo says that she got a purple scapular from Leaflet Missile. Go ahead and Google that, people, if you want to find it. At what point do you think FSSP and Institute Christ King should say this enough? We must give the sacraments. We cannot obey the bishop. That's a good question. They are in every diocese, though, that they're in at the permission of the bishop. So there you go. Just remember there are consequences if they do that. And one of the dioceses near me kicked out Father Ripperger's traditional order of exorcists. So there can be consequences. Dr. Jonathan Gemmel had a good mass yesterday. 10 people. That's interesting. I haven't heard from that group's parish in my town that they were doing that. But every one of these parishes and every diocese is going to be very different too. Drenger, what are my thoughts on sedevacantism? I don't think sedevacantists are my enemies. I just don't agree with them. I don't want them recruiting in my comments section. But other than that, I don't think they're not Catholic. I just think they're wrong. That's all. Check out Ascent of Mount Carmel on Twitter now. Ascent of. Okay, that's where I was looking for his Twitter. I couldn't find it.
I can give him a boost. You know what? I'm going to just go into Twitter right now, and I'm going to go find him. I'm going to follow him and do that right now, because his content was some of the first traditional Catholic comment that I found. Sent of, follow. So now I'm following him. And now if I can figure out how to share on Twitter, copy link to profile, that'll do it. Actually, there you go. He's getting a boost. Right while I'm live. Jesus says he'll need no introductions when he returns. No, he won't need any introductions, but to, say that, I don't know what you're implying, that he will need introduction when he returns, or with this call no man father nonsense. It's one of the dumbest things Protestants say, honestly. Call no man. It's like you take that literally, but then you don't take the Eucharist literally. Give me a break. Is there a do-it-yourself instruction on making a purple scapular? I would just go, if you're a crafty person, I would just go look online at the various pictures of them, and some of them have like proportions, and because they're not scapulars to be worn, they're much too large for that. CF Hewling, God had to approve that one. CF seems like Fox News really pulled a. See, I'm not going to say that. Seeking counsel from Slim Jim, they couldn't have found a poor excuse for a Catholic priest if they tried. Oh, they could have. They probably could have found someone worse, because at least once in a while, like, if you go, like, look at James Martin's Twitter account, once in a while, he'll say the right stuff about, like, medical Moloch worship. It's just then he then says too much. Like, he starts going off into seamless garment territory. But, yes, I was able to manage to say something nice about James Martin. I know I probably need to go wash my mouth out. Mr. Joy had to approve that one. In your opinion, the Antichrist will redefine what humanity means and declare us as not human. Moloch worship now is the trial run for this, and the Antichrist will probably, yep. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the transhumanist stuff that's going on is part of it. I'm not sure, Byron James, about the Medal of Salvation. I'm not familiar with it. If you want to email me something about it, go for it. I've got over 100 emails in my inbox. That's the problem. Just had this someone like the president says churches are essential, but our bishops are not saying it. Imagine that. I mean, think about the world we're in when that's the case. McNean and I am not a fan of the Book of Truth, just an FYI, but it's not the first place that the purple scapular showed up. FSSP was beating their chest before the lockdown here in Colorado, then immediately capitulated. Very disappointing. Yeah, Thomas, that isn't surprising, because they almost certainly got a call from the bishop, or the bishop just called the superior of the order, and that was it. No lies. Curious which FSSP parish you went to in Oklahoma. There are two of them, and I'm familiar with both. Trump demands for churches open, and Francis says nothing. Yeah, that's true. Well, JTJ, I'm happy that you're not that you are a cradle Catholic, but I'm not going to. I don't debate people. So just as an FYI, like, there are people who occasionally email me saying, "Will you debate Internet Clown number 17?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to." So it's just not going to happen. It's not why I do this. Yeah, Protestants have been much more courageous on reopening than we have been. It is truly disappointing. It's like they have the courage and we don't. Teresa Nelson, there is no strings attached to those stimulus checks. I haven't seen any. If the government sends you some money, I mean, the only string that's attached is that someday all that national debt's going to be paid by your grandchildren or great-grandchildren, depending on your age. I look at my kid and go, well, JTJ, if you follow all the teachings of Mother Church, then why this channel? What are you talking about? You're just being difficult. I literally every Saturday put up a papal encyclical from the Less Confused Time, so I don't know what you're going off about. Still no sign of churches being open in England anytime soon. Well, you may have to start looking for alternatives. What do I think about the Divine Mercy devotion and St. Faustina's diary? I don't have a problem with the devotion. The diary's got some weird stuff in it, though. No lies. You went to Most Precious Blood in Tulsa. Interesting. Know that parish well. Have I looked into the info on John 23rd being an alleged Freemason? Well, the problem with that theory is there's no proof. It's all hearsay. I don't think he was a Freemason. I don't think just because you get a picture of some guy with his hand inside of his half inside of his jacket that makes him a Freemason. If that does, well, then my 18-month-old, my 19-month-old is a Freemason because he was doing it the other day. But I would be surprised if he was one. I know that the permanent instruction of the Alta Vendita is anti trying to get a pope be a Mason. Instead, they want him to think like a Mason, to spiritually be, but not to be a formal Mason. Dr. Gemmel, have I revisited Lucis Trust Alice Bailey topic? Not yet. I'm actually reading Constance Cumby's book right now, and I want to figure out how to do it carefully because it's one of those topics that could be very dangerous on this channel. How long do you think it'll be until our age comes to an end, Josh D? Yeah, the ages of the church thing is interesting. I think what's going to bring the age of the fifth age to an end is going to be the coming chastisement. I don't know how long it will be, but again, I keep suspecting that our lunatic ruling class is going to get its wish for its conflict with Russia and with the Middle Kingdom. And if that's the case, then it's not going to be too far down the road. McNeely, you're only having confessions since the 19th of May. That's terrifying. The USSR is a good example of this. Our church is open for adoration but closed for mass, only transmitted over radio. Ugh, that's even worse than only watching it on the internet. Anybody else really tired of the internet stream masses? I couldn't do it anymore, and I'm glad we were able to. That the bishops in my state have been more courageous than in other places by reopening masses, even if only somewhat. Katie, I think you're on the money right there. That you think she says, I think Catholics have not been more forceful about reopening because they're afraid to appear unscientific to fellow seculars. There's that, and then remember how much money the Catholic Church gets from the federal government, at least in the United States, and it's actually they get a lot of money from other governments too, in various Western countries. That's why they're not fighting back. They got bought, at least in some ways, or at least they were compromised because that money is so good. Like if you look, Lepanto Institute has the data, hard data on their websites if you know how to find it. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in the last decade. It's ridiculous. See if he's looking at the Heretic Baptist down the road, and yeah, there it is. I mean, they're doing their we drove past a Baptist church where they were doing their rock and roll worship, praise and worship stuff with electric guitars, but they're doing it out in their parking lot with a stage and a sound system. The only thing they were going to run into is it didn't rain, but in Oklahoma you can never really tell. Airstrip 1 likes Infiltration by Marshall. If you're going to read that, I do recommend that you follow that up with probably The Dictator Pope or Malachi Martin's Vatican. Read those. That book will prepare you for those, I think. Because the majority of the priests are elderly. Yeah, Spooky Gate, you're probably right. I mean, there's that too. Live Mass as a beautiful Mass from Warrington. Only the SSPX are having Mass in New Zealand. That's not surprising. Well, the U.S. is planning to put warheads on Polish-Russian border, so if you suspect war... Oh, that's good job. Great job, America. I love it. Would I ever consider making a video offering a traditional critique of theology of the body? I'm not a theologian, so I'd be out of my depth. My only question about theology of the body is it seems like a half the people who really... You get 50-50 on it. You get people who adhere to it, and they are great faithful Catholics who live a proper Catholic life in regards to that topic, and others who do things like use NFP as birth control. And I know people who are very near and dear to me who do that. It's really sad. Thomas Hamilton, do I have any prayer requests? I'll just say it's an unnamed intention. Just a lot of weird stuff going on, and I've got a couple major deadlines outside of my channel coming up in the next few days. So just keep me in your prayers, folks. I do appreciate it. I do keep as a general bulk and thing the intentions of the patrons and just general subscribers of the channel, people just watch the videos. That's in my nightly intention. So Livestream Mass used as a time for meditation. That's about it. Dranger says in 2016 they got $400 million. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. AMDG, I think you're right that once all this is over, you're going to see the traditional parishes having growing numbers. Tried Catholic monarchists have the mainstream, the way that basically the mainstream groups handled this. Really, it disappointed me in a way. Like I don't understand. Like we weren't able to get into our own parish this weekend because of the, you have to sign up for slots. It was like, come on. But it's going to be different from diocese to diocese. Jerry, I'm not saying I'm necessarily recommending Infiltration. I got mixed feelings on that book, but I'm not going to counter-signal Taylor Marshall on my channel. It's just I avoid doing that with anybody if I can. There are a lot of books people can read. I haven't seen the Novus Ordo Watch thing on it. I just haven't had time. I've got a major thing happening later in the week that's eating up a lot of my time. And for some reason, I'm getting more hours at my side job. I may be quitting that soon, though, because I'm starting to get scheduled right in the one time where I have access to the to confession, and that's kind of a deal breaker since financially I'm doing well enough right now that I don't technically need the side job anymore. The fraternity has been forbidden from distributing communion on the tongue in Lexington. They opted to not distribute communion until further notice. Yep, because the rubrics of the 1962 Missal and Prior do not have any room for communion in the hand because it was forbidden. Period. Full stop. Because, well, all the reasons that you always hear for forbidding communion on the hand. What do I think about Eastern rites like Byzantines? I have been to a Byzantine liturgy one time. It was beautiful. I've been to the Maronite Divine Liturgy multiple times. I wish they would, boot out all the Roman sort of things that they've done to their Mass and fully re-embrace their own tradition. But I have been to those too. I have not been to anything else. I've got a friend here in the Oklahoma City area who knows where there's a Syro Malabar rite, I think, is here in Oklahoma City. I want to check them out. The problem is, me bringing my whole family there. Sif Hewling, thank you for the super chat. And you're welcome for the encyclicals. It's weird because they're for that's part of it's me preparing for some of the things I have to do outside of here, but they, I think, are the most important thing I do on the channel, honestly. Like, those will be up forever unless something happens, unless I get nuked off the platform. Which, by the way, for those of you who like audio-only stuff, the audio-only versions of things are available on, Spotify and all those sorts of platforms, too, just for those who care. Dranger says that he lists some things that he sees as problems with Infiltration. The book's been criticized pretty heavily. Then again, remember something, Marshall, although I will say, just to play devil's advocate here, I'll say this for Marshall. He said that he had to cut like 100 pages out of the book. One criticism I've heard, though, is you need to do that book in like an E. Michael Jones length book. We're talking like 1,500 pages because it is such a gigantic topic. But if Marshall's not planning Infiltration Part 2, I'd be shocked. So who knows? Let's see. Victoria says, in Panama, they're still under house arrest. Women can only leave home Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and men on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and only for an hour to get essentials, no masses. That is some of the worst restrictions I have ever heard. How is that even that? I'm surprised you the people of your country aren't like rioting in the streets at that point. Will I be writing a book? At some point, maybe, but it's not going to be anything sensational, probably. At least that's not my plan. I have a thing. One of the things I'm working on the side would be something that would be, I would say there'd be publishing involved and be educational. Like, I want to present all of Leo XIII's rosary encyclicals with a synthesis of them so that you can have like a long essay that explains what Leo XIII taught on the rosary. I have all 12 of the encyclicals in audio format on the channel already, but it would be nice to have that. McNeenan is telling Teresa not to take the inoculation. Please be careful with that. That is on our glorious host's immediate censorship topics.
When you visited the fraternity seminary in early March, there was a bulletin going around saying bishops forbid communion in tongue. They will obey and just not give communion instead. There you go. People won't like it, but those priests are generally not. They're good men. They are good men. A lot of people don't like the fraternity. I don't really like the intertrad fighting going on about the things. Like my friend Trad Patrick has on his channel. He's been cracking jokes during some of his recent videos about how he could make, sports team jerseys about the various different traditionalist orders because people get that goofy about it. Ukrainian church is real pretty here in PA. Yeah, I went to a Ukrainian Byzantine in Portland. It was beautiful. At the time, I called it the Church of Taco Bell because the only way I could remember to find it was that it was right behind a Taco Bell in Northeast Portland, which is now pretty gross. I shouldn't have joked like that, but I didn't know better at the time. Father Gobi's locutions were lost to let. I don't know who Father Gobi is per se. I generally stay away from current seers because it seems without fail they're always fake. Lost to let. I do believe lost to let. Do I have Facebook? I do. Someone asked if I have Facebook. There is a link on the description of my videos to the Return to Tradition Facebook. Some people have found my personal Facebook. You can add me if you want. I'm just going to tell you that I don't really post much Catholic stuff there. I mostly just post memes and other stuff, but I don't really post a lot of stuff on there just because I'm not trying to cause arguments on my personal Facebook. Do I have a BitChute? Yeah, my channel is set to auto backup on BitChute, but I don't think it's been happening. I should start doing that again, but I planned, and I've done a couple of BitChute exclusives. One where, the last time I did it, I wanted to just be as explicit as possible without cursing about something that was going on, because I just couldn't figure a way out to talk about it without being like that. It's been a few months, so I think the last time I did one like that was December. I might do another one soon. I don't know. How can we trust a lot of the things that Malachi Martin said during his life? Well, it's simple. He wrote a book called The Jesuits, where he exposed the Jesuits for what they were, and immediately he started getting slimed. I don't trust the modern Jesuits. And there was a person that I like, that I trust, who knew him in life, who said that the things they said about him were lies and were despicable, and that he knew him personally and vouched for him. And that person who vouched for him was Sir Charles Colomb, and he did it on the Tumblr House podcast 2 or 3 weeks ago. It might have been on the Patreon-only video. I don't know, but he vouches for him, and for me, that's enough. Had to sign and turn the papers in. He can't modify it now. I'm glad there are people who do watch the encyclicals, because those actually take a lot of work to do. They're not the easiest things in the world to record. Archbishop Chaput gave a church to the FSSP, so that's nice. That is good. He's retired now. When one person quit on the spot, the Tried Catholic... Yeah, well, welcome, Patch, to joining the channel. It is appreciated. Keep an eye out for the early access stuff when that goes on. KU, I've heard that claim by him about the amount of exorcists he's helped on. I tend to believe it because there are other exorcists who did that for 20, 30 years and did lots of them. Remember, not every exorcism is a major exorcism either. So he might have done a lot of small ones and a few major ones. Well, Toompi, you'd have to be in my area if you wanted to have a beer. I haven't had a beer in forever, mostly because my wife doesn't drink and she doesn't really drive either, which makes it hard for me to have alcohol. Well, hello to you, Colin. Glad you made it. Marian Movement of Priests, check out Our Lady Speaks to Her Beloved Priest. Name of book is Anil Oblot. Well, that's interesting. Colin, I do agree with you on Malachi Martin. I honestly think he was actually targeted. There's a weird thing with his burial, but again, people might just be reading too much into it. John Kenny, new internet service yet? No, I need to actually put in an electronic request to the big corporate one out here because they at least offer better internet provider. Emperor Fauci said during congressional hearing that he could not guarantee that the inoculation would work.
Yeah, a lot of people, the people who are waiting on an inoculation are kind of insane, honestly, because they don't understand that there are plenty of things that they've been searching for an inoculation for decades, and they have still not found it. Let's see. Yes, the Minnesota bishops are deciding they're defying it, and on Tuesday, my video Tuesday opens with a clip from the state responding to that. So, tried Catholic monarchist. Well, I wouldn't. I don't know anything really for sure about him being a secretly consecrated bishop. It wouldn't surprise me because in the book Vatican, the main character there is very clearly, at least partially, him. And the one thing the main character does is secretly go behind the Iron Curtain. So, let's see. Every time Emperor Fauci comes on TV, and he always imitates his voice. Now what you got to do now is make a video where you dub over him with Emperor Palpatine. Matt Hoffman, what's my name? You can find my name. My name is Anthony. You can find my name by the description of every one of my videos. There's a mailing address there. It's a P.O. box, but it's got my name as the top of that address. At the very least, Malachi Martin's works are excellent parables. Actually giving away too much weight as if any person has the facts. What I like about Martin's works is that he presents facts as he understands them with fiction in a story, but like 95% of Vatican was real. I mean, really it was. All you have to do is you can go look up the major events online, and they were all very real. He just changed the names involved. And he sometimes jumbled them around for a better story, but it was true. Like, you look up, you can learn a lot about how the church got to where it is now by reading Vatican and then reading Windswept House. People jump to Windswept House, and really it's almost a sequel to Vatican. I don't actually have a problem with Bishop Williamson. He just doesn't have a filter. Sometimes you just don't talk about some stuff, and he just didn't care. So, yeah, I don't endorse the big controversial thing he said, but, he's entitled to his opinion. But yeah, you can learn a lot from the guy as long as you've taken some major red pills. What's the difference between a minor exorcism and a major exorcism? You should go look that up just so you can get a clear definition of it. E. Michael Jones says that Malachi Martin was a Hebrew spy. Yeah, I don't agree with E. Michael Jones on everything, and that's one of the things I don't agree with him on. Teresa Nelson, people are testing. Yeah, they say 20%. Yeah, at least. I would be shocked if it wasn't at least 20. A lot of people got it and never knew it. I haven't read Hostage to the Devil yet. I have a copy of it, but I haven't read it yet just because I've heard it's hard to read. And I've read a fair number of his things, and then I had to step away for a while just because after a while, if you read the same author too much too quickly, you get really tired of it. Thanks for the super chat, Colin. It is appreciated. If Malachi was created bishop, the person who would know it would be Archbishop Jean-Paul Lenga. And yeah, I'd really like it if somebody would actually ask him if he's still around, about that. I think Lenga is still around. Spooky Cat, yeah, Malachi Martin did refer to his own writings as faction. The end, like for instance, the very end of Vatican is pure fiction. He wrote that book in the early mid-'80s, and in the aftermath of the attempt on John Paul II's life, and he ended up and he figured that he would die of lead poisoning by the end of the decade, and so that book ends with a conclave. So that part is pure fiction. It's definitely obviously. I remember somebody in one of his Art Bell interviews asking what would happen if he became Pope, and he said he'd be remembered as a terrible Pope, like a tyrant, because the amount of brute force he would use to fix the church. But obviously the end of that book is sort of his answer to that question. Dr. Gamelite, yes, I do love Malachi Martin and Charles Coulombe. I do recommend, for those of you who've only heard the Art Bell interviews, please go listen to the Bernard Jansen ones. I used to have them on my channel, but I got asked to take them down, but you can find them online. Louis de Montfort, yeah, I agree that he had to present it as fiction just to protect himself. Let's see. People are talking about exorcism in the chat. You found hostage devil to be disgustingly gross.
Yeah, see, I haven't read it, but I've heard it's shocking. But then again, I've heard that the exorcisms, I mean, you're dealing with the demonic, so that's going to be the unfortunate reality of it too. Like, allegedly, the movie The Exorcist was pretty toned down in that department, just because of Hollywood film standards at the time. Matt Hoffman, I don't actually think the prophecies of Saint Malachi are even remotely real. So they were found 2 centuries after his death. So I don't buy them. How did I set up? You're a big fan in England. I mean, I just got a passable microphone, some passable editing equipment. If you are a big fan of the format that I don't like, which is the guy sitting in front of a camera, with earbuds in or headphones on, talking, like staring at you while he's talking, then you need a decent camera too, and some decent lighting equipment. You just need a camera and editing, but all you really need is a microphone, editing equipment, and then figure out what your style is. I would recommend to anybody who wants to get involved in doing this, stay focused. That is the key. Stay focused. Also, get to know what the issues are on YouTube that they frown on, and try to be smart about it. But I have noticed that almost everyone in commentary is in the United States. There's that big guy whose name I can't remember, who's in Brazil. He's like the biggest Catholic commentator in the world, and I can't remember his name because he's Brazilian and he speaks Portuguese most of the time. But he's down there. Let's see. Bruce Wayne says that endorses Bishop Williamson's lectures from 20 years ago. They're on YouTube. I would also suggest Canon Hess too, if you really want to go there. McNean, and I would say that almost everyone is oppressed to some degree spiritually. It's just how with the state of things. Let's see. You've mentioned my opinion of Archbishop Sample in the past. Do you have any specific critiques? I like Archbishop Sample. I wish he would be a little more upfront. But, that's it. I don't have anything negative to say about him other than, I wish he would take a firmer stand on things, but I also understand that he's practically in Moloch Central there in Portland. Michael Davies, what happened? I screwed it down a little bit too far. Michael Davies' presentations on Vatican II are excellent. Yep, I've done one Michael Davies or 2 Michael Davies essays. I need to go find another one. I used to have one on education that he did, but I can't find it anymore. Let's see. Why are so many people talking about 3 Days of Darkness now? I don't know why it's come up so much lately, other than just the state of the condition of things right now. And I think everybody senses that something is coming, or they were. Maybe what's going on now is we were all sensing. But I just decided I wanted to cover Marie Julie Jehani, and now other people are talking about it. And not saying that has anything to do with me, but it's just, yeah. Teresa Nelson, you heard that Pope Paul VI retired the papal tiara. Can it be taken back up? Sure. Benedict XVI apparently wanted to, and he was told no. Jerry Pollock, don't get the camera. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about ever going on camera. When I lose the weight that I want to lose, I might do it for live streams, but I am looking definitely to up the quality of what I do visually here on my day-to-day videos. And so I'm looking at getting some better editing software and things. KU says, if your belief in evil is only conceptual, Hostage Devil recently brings it home the reality of evil. Colin McMenamin says you can also just watch the documentary. I would go read up on that documentary though, see if it's actually done well. Like people who really like Malachi Martin, see what they say about it. EMJ naively believes that Iran can be our friend. He's got a lot of hippie peacenik ideas about war. It could be a generational thing for him. I don't know. Jerry Pollock likes Canon Hess. Yeah, I like him too. Just remember, when you hear him ranting about a pope that's truly wicked, realize he's talking about Pope John Paul II. If you really like John Paul II, you're going to have a hard time with Canon Hess. It makes me. I do wish he'd been around to see what we have now, just because it would be interesting to see his take on it. Ocelot says time that Rome will lose the faith, become seat of Antichrist. I believe, yes, that is L'Ocelot. I did a video on L'Ocelot. It was a while ago. But to become the seat of Antichrist means that that's where the Antichrist is going to show up. And it's not going to be Pope Francis. Yeah, I tried Catholic Monarchist. It might have been you or someone else, but I have the audio only. And because that the videos are being taken down, I'm very hesitant to do the video I want to do on him. I'll probably have to do that as BitChute. It's going to because he says things that are bannable on this platform. Yeah, Malachi Martin does talk about perfect possession. It's truly disturbing. The short version is these are people who know that they've been totally possessed and are completely fine with it. Become total instruments of evil. Then they're fine with it. Spooky Cat. Most of Martin's cases and hostage ended up being deeply possessed due to bad theology like Desjardins, Calvinism, humanism. None of them that way through heavy metal music. Yeah, I know. Let's see. McNean and Mort tells us the warning, the miracle, and 3 days of darkness will happen quickly together. Of course, yeah. Can you talk about Father Ripperger and his talks on the devil? I like Father Ripperger. I haven't watched anything of his in a little while, just I haven't had time, but I do like Father Ripperger, and I don't have any real problems with him. Caroline, that might have been part of it, but the other thing I know is that when he went to do the research for Hostage to the Devil, he went into that project thinking he was going to debunk exorcism as a mythology and a superstition, and walked out of it a totally changed man. That's what I've heard. So it could be a couple things that did that. Paul's Wrath. You're not familiar with Hilaire Belloc. What do I like about him? Who was he? He was a Catholic. He was a Catholic writer, friend of G.K. Chesterton's. He was the other half of the Chester Belloc, as they called it. They were sort of the two of the main three minds behind distributism at the time. You know, the Catholic social teaching school born from the Rerum Novarum and Quadragesimo Anno and other papal encyclicals. They were ahead of their time, honestly, in a lot of ways. Go read some of the. Just go onto my channel, this channel search bar, and look for the. Just do a search for Hilaire Belloc and go look up the essay "Science is the Enemy of Truth." You'll like that, trust me. I was practically ranting while reading it because that's how he wrote it. It sounds like he was just angry while reading it or while writing it. But I've got several of his books. I recommend if you want to read his full-length books. I would suggest Utopia of the Usurers is a wonderful book. He describes our modern political and economic system 100 years ago. The other one is The Servile State. And I think maybe Utopia of the Usurers might be Chesterton, but The Servile State is like his magnum opus. And it's not even that big. He also wrote a book that was short stories making fun of the stories for children, and they're pretty gruesome because they're meant to be read by adults. How about the spots in the sun being called the thing that the affliction is named? Yeah, I mean, that word means crown. That's all it means. Byron James, yeah, I'm glad you take the advice. It's one thing, I think, I see people get torpedoed because they're not careful. You can get away with saying things sometimes if you're careful because, you upload a video and it'll tell you if there's a problem with it. I upload a video and I don't make it live for a day, at least, sometimes two. Anybody who's a member of the channel or supports through Patreon gets early access to the Friday video, the Saturdays, the 2 Saturday videos, the Sunday video. And they get those on Wednesday or Thursday. That's why sometimes you see on a Thursday or Friday I'll put a second video up because something big enough that couldn't wait till Monday happened. And sometimes I have to redo them. I had to redo one last week before it went live. And I really looked at my script, saw what the problem was, and I just fixed it. And it was helpful because the story had changed. So. Yeah, see, if that's the one thing I do know about him is that he does keep Archbishop Semple does keep the emeritus archbishop around to help him with some things, but he is still cleaning up a lot of those messes. It's a sad state of affairs. Let's see. Oh, let's see what's going on here because I was told that Streamlabs told me there was something wrong here.
that they couldn't publish the live, even though we've been live for almost an hour. But it explains why there's only 21 people watching. That's weird. Let me see if I go to my channel's main page and see if it says I'm live. It says 170 is watching. Okay, so it's just as usual. My own page is what the screen I see is just giving me nonsense. Okay. I actually, hello, Anna Colleen. Welcome. Just glad you popped in. One of the things I want to do, by the way, is I want to start doing, I've been talking about this for a while. I want to start doing film reviews. Not like Avengers Endgame, Catholic take on it. No, I mean like movies that maybe we should watch. People that, that whether they're big Hollywood movies or they're, more, underground films made by Christians for Christians. I keep getting recommended from people to get Pure Flicks, but if they're anything like if their film selection is anything like at the local video rental place in my town's Christian film section, I'll pass. Those movies look terrible. But there are, there's a few movies that I want to watch and I want to review, but I don't know how to do it without, running the problem of dealing with the copyright issues. And you see that with all like the angry nerd commentators, like those guys will do film reviews or they'll do just commentary on things going on in the pop culture. And if they use too much footage, it gets a copyright strike. You don't want that. Let's see. Teresa Nelson says many with great in their name aren't necessarily good. Bruce Wayne, you liked Williamson's lectures on Uncle Ted, one of the first people you saw on the internet explaining the guy's manifesto. I have to be careful with that one. Let's see. Father Martin, look to the sky, will make people see where they stand. Yeah, I know. That's mercy, too, because it gives you a chance to repent, but, Don't understand Martin books. You have to take in mind that he had more boring stories, but he would not write them because he wanted the book to be entertaining and not an encyclopedia. That is what faction means. That's part of it. I mean, there was obviously a lot that happened in the various, a lot of smaller details that just didn't matter to the story. It just didn't work for a book. And like Vatican is 800 pages or something already. Like I remember sitting there before I had my side job that I have now in the early days of my channel. I would be sitting in my car doing DoorDash breakfasts in the city, waiting for orders to come and reading the book in the car. Sometimes waiting 45 minutes between deliveries. Let's see. Bruce Wayne, because the Saracens hate not just tractors, but Christians too. Their entire worldview is opposed to our Catholic values. See the more Spain. Yep. Okay, yeah, people are catching up. Okay, yeah, see, my screen right now says 21 concurrent viewers, and it's been locked at that since I went live. But I actually managed to check my own homepage, and it said it was like a lot more than that. Toompi Floyd says you'd love a film review thing. I might do it because I don't want to only do those, End Times Watch and Forgotten Saints things on the Saturdays. Like the End Times Watch ones, like you can tell when I do them, I don't think necessarily those are all like end time stuff. It's just sometimes people like think it is, which is why I want to do the, revisit the thing I did yesterday's video on, do more, explain it better. Paul Zerath does not like Pure Flicks. Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, if people would give it like the video, like the stream, that would help. It'll get the algorithm, more in our favor. What do I think about Louis Kelso and his ideas and books about capital, especially employee-owned businesses? I'm not familiar with Kelso. Employee businesses, though, are very Catholic. It's in my doctoral dissertation, I actually talk about employee cooperatives. The Tried Patrick over on his channel has talked about the relationship between organized labor, how it should be an understanding of it from a Catholic perspective, and how the ultimate goal should be that labor and the management should be working together for everyone's benefit instead of working as in opposition. That's the difference between the Catholic and the sort of Protestant capitalist system that you see. Healing, that's actually... I want to see that Polish film on Martin Luther, and I have a link open on... I've got like 30 tabs open on Chrome right now. It might be part of my problems, honestly, but I want to do a review of that. That's one of the things I'd like to do. Doodle Noodle, you'd probably like my wife's taste in movies, and she likes all sorts of movies, but like lately she's been watching 50s television westerns. Drives me crazy. I almost wonder if I'd have to do a different channel for the film reviews, though. As to the person who said the Sister Faustina story, the thing I'd have to reason one of the problems again I'll run into is copyright. So you might get a lot of screenshots instead of like film clips. I've never actually seen The Passion of Joan of Arc with the Voices of Light soundtrack. So people can do that. Send me information. AMDG asked if Malachi did leave the priesthood. He did not. He was secularized. He used the term laicized, but how he described it is much more like fits the secularization. He actually said he had a bishop he had to answer to in Rome. He wouldn't say who it was. And when private investigators who were digging up muck on him started trying to harass him, one of the things they did was they actually contacted the Vatican to see if he was truly a Catholic priest. And their response was, if someone says that they are a Catholic priest in good standing, you should take their word for it. But they didn't like to talk about what he did. That's because I suspect he was the main character himself in Vatican. So go read that book. If you want to get some insight into Malachi Martin, I suggest reading that. Do I think we're close to an authoritarian government? I suspect the founding fathers of the United States of America would say that we have long since been an authoritarian government, living under an authoritarian government. I'm not someone who holds the founders in super high esteem. And I don't believe the myth that George Washington had a deathbed conversion to the Catholic faith. I'm definitely on the extreme skeptical side of that. But, their vision of a government is much better than what we have right now. Like, what we have right now is an atrocity. And that's not a commentary on the president either. It's just a commentary on just the system. Aaron Hook, in a technical sense of writing, is Shaw's most Pure Flix films are objectively terrible. Does Pure Flix have a lot of those, like, left behind silliness? Because seriously, those are just ridiculous, and they're heretical, so you probably shouldn't watch them. But let's see, the most disturbing thing that Malachi Martin did was when asked by Art Bell what the Vatican telescopes were for, he got really quiet for like a minute. Then he said he couldn't talk about it. It depends. Like, do you believe the Planet X thing? I don't endorse it. I don't counter-signal it. I don't know. But that's one of those things that gives me pause, because remember in the Apocalypse, somewhere between chapters 8 and 13, there's the talk of wormwood. Wormwood, at least to modern reading, looks like an asteroid or a meteor or something. Maybe they're looking for it. I don't know. Or, conversely, Malachi Martin, like, my big criticism of Malachi Martin is that he was a storyteller. Like, in my second video on him, a lot of the negative comments were like, why are you calling him a storyteller? It's because he was a storyteller. He has the one fault that all storytellers have, and that's the gift of exaggeration. Caroline, yeah, he did not leave the priesthood. He was definitely a priest. I've seen, like, pictures of him photos of him that were not touched up on the internet of him in his full clerical garb saying Mass. I've seen them. I think I used a couple in one of the videos I did on him. John Doe maybe shows the number of members watching. I don't have 173 members of the channel, so this is not a private stream. This is a public stream, so. What do I think about having to wear a mask to receive Holy Communion? Not a problem I've had at my parish. The parishes I go to are traditional parishes, and they wouldn't make you do that because hiding the Imago Dei is just crazy. Let's see. Have I seen the movie Martin Luther and the Protestant Revolution? No, but I, as I mentioned earlier, I've got that one open on one of my many tabs, and it's going to be one of the things I review eventually. Matt Hoffman said a saint has a vision of Satan entering every home through a black box. Yeah, that was either it was one of the early American saints, St. Catherine Drexel maybe, but they had a vision of Americans sitting, in their living rooms staring at a black box that Satan spoke to them through. I haven't done a video on it yet because that's the extent of the vision. So, it'd be one of those we were warned videos that I would have to put a lot together from. So receiving exclusive in the tongue is still relatively new to you, and some would see it as an act of pride to not receive than to receive in the hand. Why isn't the hand so horrible? Because it's a sacrilege. Go look up Cardinal Sarah's article on receiving communion in the hand. He just annihilates it. Just go read his article. He does a better job with it than I could have, and he put it out long before I was around doing this. Otherwise, I would have recorded it and uploaded it. Formed might be an okay option. It's pretty Novus Ordo, though. Yeah, there just aren't that many traditionalist films out there. I would love it if traditionally minded people started making moderate budget films. That would be great. I'd want to see some documentation that the Vatican actually has a telescope called Lucifer. These days nothing surprises me, but TV is image beast, gave life to the world. I don't know anything about Father Gobi. If he's current, again, I'm very skeptical of any current people. I don't give them any coverage because they usually turn out to not be good. McNeenan, I'm not surprised Padre Pio didn't like the TV. Anything where what you do with it can be called vegging out, that's probably not a good sign. St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. Okay, that's who it was, Colin McMahon. I can never remember. I was told by a Russian scholar the translation of Wormwood is Chernobyl. Well, maybe. What's your thoughts on the documentary about Norman McCovey? Colin, you nail it there. I know that Father Frank Pavone was her confessor towards the end, and he says that all that stuff is just slander. I don't give it any more thought than that. What's the thought on the Book of Enoch? I haven't read it because it was not approved by the church. Simple. Any of that stuff is essentially just fan fiction. I just don't read it. They're called TV channels for a reason. They literally call it channeling. But the blind cannot see it, though it is in the name. What's interesting is you go watch Truth Stream Media's new video on Santa Claus. They go into that, talk about channels and, programming. There's a reason they call everything that they related to television what they do. Yeah, it might have been St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. Someone says it was also Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich also said something about it. It's an interesting book just translated from French last year titled Mystic of the Holy Wounds about Sister Mary Martin Chambon. Gotta scroll down and then back up a little bit. Start an interesting book. Let's see. Any thoughts on the new Fatima movie? The only thoughts I did were on that Fatima, the Sister Lucia video that some people got mad at me for doing. But it's like, look, they got that they got the documentary about the movie. I've heard that the new Fatima movie is pretty modernist, though, so I would be careful. That's what I've heard, and I've heard it from people I trust. I've never heard about anybody believing that there's a sun simulator, but, Doodle Noodle, Planet X is the second sun. I know that there are those who just think it's a planetary object that's coming into the solar system, and that, the people who talk about that point out that that Planet X was something people talked about 100 years ago, and they talked about it all the way up through the 1980s, and all of a sudden anybody talking about it just stopped talking about it. I don't have an opinion on it. Could be true. Probably not, though. Don't know what Mission 1986 is. Someone asked about that. People said advertisements in magazines had subliminal messages, probably TV too. That's sort of like part of the subplot of the movie They Live, isn't it? If you haven't seen that, if you can handle 80s action movies that have a tiny amount of impurity in it towards the end, then I enjoy that movie. It's good social commentary. But McNeenan, the new Fatima movie doesn't come out till August. Martin Luther film was made by Grzegorz Braun, a Polish politician for a Confederate who is a triad Catholic absolute monarchist, so it should be good. That makes me want to rush my schedule to watch it. I've got just this big thing I have to do at the end of the week that's taking a lot of my time, but The first film we should review is the movie After the Passion. I've not heard of After the Passion, but I should do a video on Event 201. I have to be very careful on those videos because there are now media outlets flagging videos to get them taken down. So I got to be careful. I do want to do another video on this subject. Have I ever read the book on a series of exorcisms during the 1970s Switzerland? I believe it was in Perimeter, but can't recall the name. No, I have not. I'm not sure what you're referring to. I haven't read a lot of books on exorcisms. My thoughts on Flat Earth. I am not a Flat Earth person. I find that to be ridiculous. Thomas Keller endorses They Live. Where are Mel Gibson's film After the Passions? I don't know. He's got a few he's worked on since then, but not many. Jerry Pollock, have you ever noticed a lot of people in our circles are kind of eccentric? I'm just throwing that out there.
The billionaire tech CEO and philanthropist planning for after the thing. Iron Cross, flat Earth is dumber than Q. All right, I'm caught up with the chat. Let me go take a look here through the fun headlines like that from Frank Walker. Let's see. There is a parish in Maine where this is how his headline describes it. No kids, check in when you arrive in case of community transmission. This will help the CDC to alert people and or perform investigations. Don the mask. Wait for the usher to place you. Consume the host only in your pew. I would rather have the fraternity situation where they just don't give out communion at all than, communion in the little baggies that you consume in the pew. Like communion in the hand, one of the problems with communion in the hand is once we went there, guess what happened? Satanism exploded. Theft of the Eucharist and its use in black magic exploded because people could just take it and then palm it and then leave. Here we go. Following the president and the bishop's demands in Minnesota, the governor there has permitted up to 250 to attend church services. There you go. Resistance sometimes works. Let's see. Notorious Harvard professor Steven Pinker blames Christianity's malignant belief in afterlife for lockdown protests. I'm telling you, this is bringing out all the people, and it's bringing out the truth. It really is. The mask is slipping. But yeah, so the things I'm planning this week is I am going to do the I'm going to talk about the Laudato Si thing this week. It will probably be fun. Matt Hoffman, I don't think he's our last pope because we haven't had the angelic pope yet. We haven't had the Pope of Restoration. He hasn't come. I don't believe the St. Malachi prophecy. It just doesn't make any sense. That person is eccentric even for trad standards. Oh, that's great. Kathleen Bellino, I am not a Q person. I had a test for Q, and he failed it spectacularly, so there you go. Where can you find Cardinal Sarah's article? Thank you. Well, let me find it for you. Published it on February 23rd, 2018. I didn't start my channel until June 25th or so. Let me see if I can find the full thing, which was published on the Pray Tell blog. Oh, it's gone now from there. So let me go and find March 2nd. Communion in the hand is a diabolical attack on the Eucharist. Oh, let's see. But that is from Reverence Restoration channel, where they just re-uploaded EWTN talking about it. So let's see, the FSSP published, or the SSPX published part of it. Let's see. LifeSite News probably has it. Okay, so yeah, here's the LifeSite archive for it. It took me a second, but it's in the chat. Where can you watch the Martin Luther film? It's on Vimeo, I think. Remind me again before I log out, and I might try to put it in there. Being in the bag is even worse. It is even worse. The Teresa hated communion in the hand. This is true. Have you ever watched the black and white film Reluctant Saint on St. Joseph Cupertino or The Wizard of Heaven? No, I actually haven't watched either of those. I need to go look through Prime and see if those are available. What do you mean, dude? QAnon is totally real, brah. I should know. I'm a boomer. Trust the plan. I don't knock baby boomers here, but yeah, no, I'm not the only one who doesn't trust them. Masks are to stop us talking. Urano parishes resuming outdoor parking lot mass. Well, it's better than no mass. Excuse me. My allergies are just killing me today. Is the book about Swiss exorcisms the one called Begone Satan? I don't know. Well, Lost Let Fatima. Well, I don't believe Medjugorje either. I think Medjugorje is a satanic hoax, to borrow Malachi Martin's description of it. So, yeah, again, I don't do non-approved ones, especially ones that are objectively fake. Like, Medjugorje is extremely fake. It's like fake and James Martin. It's like super fake. What was the Q test? It's simple. Sessions is part of the plan. Trust Sessions. Sessions is part of the plan. Trust Sessions. Trump dumps Sessions. Okay. You know, look, I mean, there might be a guy with high-level clearance in the U.S. government, you know, who's a super, super Trump guy. Could be. But I don't think, you know, he has any, he might have access to some information, but I don't believe the overall thing. And that's me being nice about it. And also, you're also forgetting that there's a huge anti-Catholic sort of feel towards the whole thing. Like, I stopped watching a couple of those channels because I always found them interesting. Like, they're just fascinating to listen to these people talk about it. But, I mean, they were like the whole pizza issue. They were doing that with the Vatican, and I'm just like, give me a break. Come on, guys. Liberty Babe, you saw someone take communion in the hand and then walk away with it, drop it on the floor and pick it up. When the church, you were sitting in the front trying to get to the guy who did. Yeah, I mean, you see this stuff all the time. Father Ripperger has posted that we are starting to see in the youngest generation children with beyond normal affinity for Christ in this church. Any thoughts on this? It's a sign of great hope for the future. One of the first things that my child was able to do was able to identify Mary and Jesus from the pictures on our wall. He was able to do that at about a year. So, I believe it. I think we're going to see the beginning of the restoration in our lifetimes. AMD is correct. Viruses are more contacted through hand contact, not by the mouth. Receiving on the tongue is safer for both priest giving it and for the lady. Yeah. Let's see. It's very difficult to keep up in this. Let's see. The new Mel Gibson movie is supposed to be The Resurrection. It isn't in production yet. Yeah, it's gonna be a while. I mean, there's not much in production right now, but Bishop is allowing you to receive on the tongue, but hey, cool. Brian O'Connor, you nail it there with so many people who don't believe in the real presence. I mean, it's in the Novus Ordo, it's 30%. It's 98% believe in the real presence in the traditional Latin Mass. And that's objectively decided because of how the Mass is handled. Haxon, huh? All right, Aaron, I'll try to remember that. Maybe in a few days. If when my first one goes up, send me some recommendations in email. Wait till the first one comes up, though. New Archbishop of Atlanta held a green mass last week in honor of Laudato Si. Oh, that sounds delightfully painful. McNina says you'll have to wait a while for Malachi's Pope Peter the Roman. Yeah, you probably will. Your friend, Father David Pietrus, is defending his PhD of canon law about the traditional Latin Mass and Latin Mass groups in the world and their canonical status. Would be interested in the copy and translation. Yeah, I'd probably like to read it. Let's see. You believe Malachi Martin targeted as well has been explained. The woman who shared his home treated him as a son, and the relationship was beyond reproach. Right, and like people always try to you never notice that when they try to destroy someone, most of the time they go that way. That's where they go. They go to the sex thing. Fair point, but disinfo necessary. Well, I don't know. I don't trust it. Hear the word prophecy thrown around a lot, but aren't a lot of these religious predictions? I'm led to understand that prophecy is the domain of the prophets. Right, but there are, I don't think God stopped sending prophets. We don't have to believe Catholic prophecy, but, I'm immediately suspicious of any Catholic who doesn't believe Fatima. Let's see, elaborate on the Q test. Again, Sessions. Sessions was supposedly part of the plan, and now look how the president is treating Sessions. It's not a critique of it. I'm sure he has his reasons, but, come on. He's definitely not part of the plan. Make fun of LARPers, but took a LARP and created a religion from it. Take notes. Jerry, I can't say the full thing of the pizza thing. Let's see, Thomas. Green mass, a bunch of hippie neo-pagan masquerading as Catholics. Yeah, that got, I don't know why that got, maybe the word hippie. Sweet Harmony, your pastor wants you to walk up wearing a mask, receive in the hand, walk 6 feet to the side, then remove the mask to consume the host. He wouldn't make sure the host is actually consumed. Maybe the totally extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion will get to be the Eucharist police. I don't know. Jack Chick was very important. I mean, he let the world know that the Vatican had a supercomputer. That reminds me. Okay, so this week I got a Chick track in the mail. It's the second time this has happened. I hope I still have the original one because I keep all the letters I get. I'm planning to do another mailbag video shortly. Hopefully, maybe this coming weekend. Would you guys be interested in a lighthearted video where I laugh at Chick tracks, where I put them up on the screen and just laugh at their absurdity? Because like my favorite Chick track is either the Vatican supercomputer one or the Dark Dungeons one. Because back in my pre-Catholic life, I played a lot of D&D, and I don't have any problem with D&D other than how much of a time waste it is. But man, the Chick tracks are amazing. So let me know if that would be if you would find that to be humorous, because I think it would be fun to do. Mike Rogan, you think Father Wolf said wormwood was tailhard? It could be, but I don't know. Like, I'm taking wormwood to be pretty literally a comet, but I do know the homily series. It's from the Our Lady of Revelation series. Like they did like 12 videos on Our Lady of Revelation that priest did, and they're amazing. And one of them is about Father Wolf, Father Wolf, I think, talks about his Teilhard de Chardin as being this absolute wrecking ball for the church. Mr. Joy, the supercomputer had all of the name of the prots, even the ones in the Ozarks. Yup. Yeah, I love that one. So yeah, let me know if that would be fun, because I think it would be. Thomas Scott, laughing at Chick tracks, Jack Chick. They are so good. They're so good. Matt Hoffman, you love playing Diablo. Yeah, I played Diablo 2 a lot, like back in like 99, 2000. It was so great. Toompi plays D&D. Yeah, I don't have a problem with D&D. I used to run D&D games. I just played it too much, and towards the end, I played it a little bit after I came into the church, but I realized that I was just doing it to hang out with my friends at that point, that I just didn't care, that my mind was elsewhere at that point. I do follow Cursed Protestant Nonsense on Twitter, and I think they're on Facebook too, but you want to hear the Vatican supercomputer home one? Can it run Far Cry 5 on Ultra? I don't know. I mean, if it's a Vatican supercomputer, knows all the names of all the Protestants in the world, so that the Jesuits can run the persecution. Check out, please, to get The Final Hour by Michael Brown. The Final Hour. What is that? Is that a book? I mean, what is that? You're going to have a real challenge. Spooky says he's going to have a real challenge when Mass resumes, that you're a super high risk for the thing. Any recommendations? If you are at a super risk, your bishop has almost certainly given you a dispensation not to go for the time being. I'm not one of the people who doesn't think it's real. I'm just one of the people who thinks that we've just completely overreacted. Take the precautions you need. Talk to the priest, because you should still be able to receive Holy Communion. Like 8 weeks without the Eucharist, I could tell. Like, it was like going to confession last night and then getting to communion this morning. I could tell. I could tell. The Thunder of Justice by Flynn. The UK bookmaker odds for next pope. Turkson is 7 out of 2. Tagle 9 out of 2. Oulet, Scola, O'Malley, Schonborn, Farrell and Dolan, Nicholas. We're in trouble if that's the case. Cardinal Sarah, by the way, turns 75 in June. So there you go. Valentinus, ever been a DM? Yeah, I ran games a lot. It was actually my favorite thing to do. It's just been a long time. Let's see. Fam says, you were glad to see a friend from school who used to be an altar server at the school Nova Sordo and went on to the charismatic type Kairos retreats at the SSPX chapel. The future is tradition. The future is tradition. I guarantee it.
Like, a lot of people don't like it when I say that the charismatic movement is Protestant in its origin, but it's literally Protestant in its origin. The American most responsible for the charismatic movement in the United States had actually functionally left the Catholic faith in the 70s and found themselves in with Pentecostals, and he brought all that stuff to the church and to Catholicism. That's the truth. Let's see. Vatican supercomputer run on Windows Vista. Oh, it probably runs on. I mean, if it's the Vatican supercomputer, it's running on Windows 11 already. The 3 days of darkness. Some say they'll occur after the reign of Antichrist, and others say before. My thoughts. I would guess before. I'm kind of torn on this though, like how it's going to work. That's why, like, one of the videos I'm going to do is just to say what the church says the events are going to be between, like, of the end times, because they're laid out somewhere, and I have a book that actually has them bullet pointed, and I could probably do a 20-minute video on that. Try to keep it focused, because it's a video you could also do a documentary on. I'm sorry if you hear me sniffling, by the way. My allergies are acting up something terrible today. Pope Francis is an avid gamer on the Vatican supercomputer. Father Isaac raised demons from hell. He has said a lot of things are from hell. It might be, but not because it's satanic, but because it's just a waste of time that you could be using to develop your spiritual life. So, you know. How did confession work with the social distance stuff? At my parish before, or not my parish, but the parish near me, the Novus Ordo parish, the way there's good priests there, and they took the chapel, and they turned the chapel into a confessional. They locked all the doors, except one door in and one door out. And they put up a sort of a confessional screen wall thing. The priest would sit on one side, and there was a kneeler on the other, and a chair, so you could sit or kneel as you needed. And you had the whole chapel. Now, you're also confessing in front of the Eucharist, which was cool. I will admit, confessing functionally in front of the tabernacle, that was an interesting experience. Recently, though, because they've got their masses going again, they moved for the need for distancing. They moved the confessional to a side building in the where they do their community gatherings. What do I think about the ticket process to go to Mass in Oklahoma? I'm not happy about it. Yeah, I'm not happy about it either. That stuff makes me mad. Like, I'm here in Oklahoma, and I had to find a different parish to go to because of it. Burst out laughing at Mark. They were in trouble after putting thoughts. Yeah. Well, always try to remember we know who's going to win in the end. It's just we got to get through it. Daily reminder that Pentecostal miracles are scenic hypnosis. John Venari infiltrated a Steubenville charismatic conference and recorded what he saw. I think it's still up on YT. I would love a link to that. Like, some of his songs are funny. Like, have you ever seen, like, John Venari was a treasure for Catholic Family News, and I'm glad they're keeping his organization going, keeping his work going. But John Venari and Father Nicholas Gruner were treasures, and man, I would love to see that video. Email it to me if you can. Spooky Cat. Well, I mean, a lot of the thing is, remember, a lot of the people attracted to D&D and those kinds of games are looking for something. They don't. Most of the time, it's stuff that social outcasts of one kind or another fit into. I haven't met that many people who are deep into the faith who spend a lot of time with that kind of stuff. And that's not a slam on anybody who plays the game. It's just a lot of the people, in my experience. I mean, I worked in a gaming store briefly, and these were people who were clearly filling a void in their life. That's why a lot of them are young unmarried men. I mean, they're oftentimes they're at the young end of being of marriageable in terms of age, but they're definitely not in a place in life where they could. Josh Cruz, a priest who is into charismatic prayer. They pray in tongues, but it's just gibberish. You might want to find out if there's a way they can have an exorcist who's a linguist, which they usually go hand in hand together. Observe, because I've heard stories from reputable exorcists about this, and they usually are horrified about the things that they're actually saying. Let's see. Good book, Thunder of Justice by Jimmy Flynn. A lot of prophecy, interesting indeed. Jimmy Flynn also wrote The Seven Secrets of the Eucharist as well as The Seven Secrets of Divine Mercy. Excellent. I will have to try to look that up. Confessions were held on church grounds. People queued away from the priest. There were no cars. Huh. Windows Vista. The Vatican supercomputer runs on Temple OS with Spirit of Terrier Devis. What are my thoughts on the inoculation talk? as it relates to people worried about the mark of the beast. I think this stuff is, I don't know if that'll be the mark itself, but I think this is all laying the work for it. There's going to be a system when the big AC shows up. It's going to, most of that's already going to be in place, and he's just going to be able to put the pieces together. I object to anything that makes his job easier, just on ways we all should. Let's see. Yeah, McNeenan, you might be the only one having problems. I'm not getting any, like, YouTube's not even telling me that I'm, like, lagging. That's because this week I remember to put on low latency because I don't need it to be on high latency. Paul's Wrath, my familiar with Zachary King's story, the ex-Satanist Satanic priest. A little bit. I'd actually love to have a chance to have a conversation with a knowledgeable someone who is knowledgeable on Satanism. Would love to have a conversation with them, like record, for the channel, live or pre-recorded, preferably probably pre-recorded, and just do it as a premiere. I've never done a video premiere before where there's a live chat and I'm chatting with you guys while my video is playing. But I'd love to have a conversation with an expert on Satanism. But I would need to have them vetted. You know how it goes. McNeenan's checking out. Let's see. AMD, I'll try to remember that for my allergies. It's moldy. It's been raining a lot here, so we got mold now in the air here. I played Doom on this Vatican supercomputer. Probably. Zachary King's story is definitely impressive. Reminds you of the earlier talk about the Diabolical games, though. As he said, they do use the names of real demons in those games. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for the kind thoughts, Cynthia Bellino. That is great. You play, let's see, Sweet Harmony played D&D in college with a few friends. Your husband used to be a DM. The way they played it was just for fun, like trick-or-treating on Halloween. Yeah, that's what I did it for. That's all we did is we were just goofed off. Me and my friends did. And there are people who take it too seriously, though. And I went too far down here. Let's see. Greetings from Central Valley, California. You're playing your rosary every day to have California consecrated. The Immaculate Heart of Mary, the state is once proudly Catholic. Hoping returns to it soon. Yeah, it could if the church exerted real leadership. I think the world hungers for real Christian leadership, and it's not being provided to them. Devils can only pervert that which is made. They can't make up new things. This is true. What are my views on those? YouTube, Dr. Kelly Bowring relies much on Marie Divine. Seems a decent chap. I don't know about him. I've heard that Marie Divine Mercy is not to be trusted, but again, I don't do anything with current people. So, like anybody who's a current seer, I keep at arm's distance. It's safe for that time. Let's see. Our parish had confession all along in the same manner as usual. Yeah, the neighborhood parish had confession the whole time. Like, they never gave up. Like, I'm lucky that I'm in the state that I'm in because we had access to confession at the usual times. Costco forcing mask wearing nationwide. That's so ridiculous. I have a Costco card and I've been avoiding going there. Why do I think Medjugorje is so clearly fake? Because of the dropping of the child Jesus vision. I mean, that's nonsense right there. The idea, the so-called fruits of Medjugorje, they involve human trafficking. They involve like strangely high rates of people who go on pilgrimage. They're getting a divorce. The Virgin Mary doesn't just show up when asked to. I mean, come on. Like, it's on its face. It's nonsense. And then there's also like the research that some people have done on it that reveals that there was definitely CIA involvement there. Was told by Jesus her book is to prepare worldwide for a second coming. That's the allegation. But there's also some really weird stuff in that book, apparently. There's that Mr. Joy has also got the one I keep forgetting to mention. I don't know why. Quote unquote, Our Lady said that all religions are good, and that apparently she showed up every day until the thing came that she needed a break. Yes, the idea that Our Lady practices social distancing is ridiculous, and that the universalism, like the way you can tell if there's any truth to any. Or if any of these messages are to be trusted, is to search for heresies. And the idea that all religions are good is a heresy. That's nakedly a heresy.
Gee, you used to play D&D in 88. You were invited to play with your friends. The game itself wasn't that much fun for you, but you looked forward to it only to hang out with your friends, tell jokes, and have pizza on Thursdays. Yeah, I mean, that's all it really is. I mean, it's an escapism. The Diablo 4 trailer, it's a horrifying how satanic the imagery. Right, like you go look at the original Diablo games or the original Doom games, and they're just goofy looking. Now it's actually kind of scary looking, and I don't play video games other than I have like a SimCity game I play on my phone. That's it. Your thoughts on Father Michael Rodriguez? People ask me this every week, and I will say that I was going to check him out until somebody I trust who had checked him out pointed out that there's a long list of heresies that he preaches, so allegedly. So I wouldn't recommend him. But then again, I always say I don't go with anybody who is currently having visions. I want them to be vetted by the bishops, formally vetted. Mel Wade, thank you. I appreciate the reinforcement there. Many shall come in my name. Yes, they need to be vetted by the bishop. That's why I don't do Garam Bendal. I'm going to bend that rule when I eventually do a video on the warning, though, and I'll put Garam Bendal at the end with the disclaimer of this is not one I necessarily buy into, but, a lot of you do, so here's what Garam Bendal says. Michael Jones, he's one of them, but he's not the only person who went after Medjugorje, but he has the most thorough. Do I know the police talking about human trafficking most of the time refers to prostitution? Yeah, well, that's part of it, but I mean, that's how it goes, right? The gospel following social distancing protocols. Colin, I think, listened to Zachary King's testimony, but it was a long time ago. He was a high wizard in a satanic coven before his conversion brought through the miraculous metal. Yeah, it's been a long time, like several years since I've heard his testimony. But again, would like to find an expert on Satanism to talk to. Our Lady of Social Distancing. For some reason, you cannot email the address provided on your website. Can you send the Venari video on your Ask Me Anything page? It's return number 2 catholictradition@gmail.com. Make sure you spell everything right. You're probably spelling something wrong. And that's the email address because it wouldn't let me have return to tradition at Gmail when I started the channel. Am I a convert? So have you shared a conversion story? I am a convert. I haven't really shared my conversion story. It's kind of convoluted, and it's a little weird too because, let me put it to you this way. I once said this on a live stream like a year ago, and it made like the people I was chatting with at the time really uncomfortable. But if I were to write a book on my conversion, it would be called How Heavy Metal Music Led Me to Jesus Christ. Provocative title. It would sell a lot of copies, and it'd be wonderful. It's a convoluted story, and someday I'll tell it on the channel, mostly if I outline it. I'd have to outline it practically like I was doing a normal video. But, yeah. Let's see. Michael Jones and Patrick Coffin. Yeah, the Coffin's interviews of Michael Jones are a little easier for some people to take than a lot of the other ones because Coffin doesn't usually have him go into the very troubling stuff that he talks about. I say troubling for most normal people. Healing, yeah, you were into GURPS. I never played GURPS, so I was aware of it because I, again, worked in a gaming store. Seems to be pretty common if you are into gaming and then you convert, you eventually lose interest in it. What are my thoughts on exorcised holy water? I keep holy water in the house, but I don't know what you mean by exorcised holy water. If you mean what they use for like infant baptisms in the traditional rite, I'm fine with it. I mean, get in line with the new normal. No, I'm not going to get in line with the new normal. Matt Hoffman, all right, I had to clear this one. For this, Satanism teaches you're your own God, and whatever you want to do is what you should do. Your day is, then I'm not even sure what that last is. But yeah. Thomas Keller. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say to that comment. Let's see. How about Our Lady of Knock? I got an Irish rosary with the Lady of Knock medal. I did a video on Our Lady of Knock. I have a different take on Our Lady of Knock than most people. I think it was one of the warnings from Our Lady because of what else was going on at that exact moment when the Knock apparitions appeared. So yeah, go to my channel, Dr. Gemmel. If you haven't seen my video on Our Lady of Knock, do a search on my channel for Our Lady of Knock. You'll find it. Fear, hey, how heavy metal led you to be tread? You'd be surprised, actually. Again, someday I'll talk about it.
it's one of those reasons when people say, you like that stuff? And I'm like, I almost never listen to secular music anymore, except maybe at the gym, to drown out the real satanic music that's playing at the gym, which is radio-friendly pop music, because that stuff is just pure hedonism and just advocacy for grotesque lifestyles. I drown that stuff out, but although my headphones are on the fritz right now. Lately at the gym, I've just reverted to listening to podcasts while I'm lifting, because that's just usually where I'm at right now. Cynthia Bellino likes the title, the book title. Yeah, no, I thought it was great, and it makes people uncomfortable. And that's the key to a good book title is something that grabs people's attention. 196 right now. Yeah, my screen says 21 with 11 likes. Thomas Keller. Matt Gaspers has a similar metal reversion story. Oh, I'd want to hear that. Is Christianity growing or dying? Numerically, it's growing. I don't know about in terms of like people really living the faith, though. Sweet Harmony. I will write that down as a book at some point, but I'll probably do it first just as a sort of over a thin, sort of just off the cuff talk. Would you interview an exorcist priest in the future? Yeah, if I could find one who would talk to me, I probably would. E. Michael Jones is hardcore. He is definitely hardcore. Exorcise salt. I have some in my cupboard. What are the weirdest non-heretical thing you saw on the Catholic part of the internet? For me, was a Discord group instead of conscious furries on Twitter. That takes anything, the weirdest stuff I've ever seen. In terms of Catholic internet, the joke I keep making is there's a guy at my work who is what he calls himself as a non-pervert furry. I don't understand, but I keep making jokes about National Socialist German Workers' Party furries, because you see them. There's a meme that I saw, a bunch of them with the red flag with their black little thing in the middle of it, in their full costumes, and it was the most ridiculous thing. And I keep making jokes about it with him. And I could tell it annoys him a little bit, but Fury, you had to get off the Koth. They trained because he recently put out an emotionally charged video. Yeah, and I'm not touching that topic with a 10-foot pole. I'm trying to stay away, at least on my YouTube channel. But there's a sort of a sifting going on right now, it looks like. Sweet Harmony, I don't want either of these normals. For me, the new normal needs to be a Christ-centered normal and a just order where the social reign of Christ the King is fully recognized by the secular world. That's the normal I want. I'll be happy with something that gets us more in that direction and gives us the freedom to work that way. We don't have that yet. KU says, an atheist, he briefly dabbled in black magic, and the terrifying doors it opened led you to flee, screaming for religion. Demons are real. Oh, yeah. I don't doubt it. Let's see. Our Lady of Knock, the only silent apparition. Yeah, but I think there was a message in the silence. Aleister Crowley is the basis for the music industry. He might very well be, for all I know. Jerry Pollock, that might be the only thing that Styx is good for. I really can't stand him. He's not a commentator. Some people like in secular right-wing circles say he's like a great commentator. I don't think so. He was making observations that I was noticing back when I was a progressive years and years ago. I don't really find him all that insightful, but John Ford is in the gym now. Well, good. What do I think it will take for the conversion of the Hebrews? First and foremost, for us to admit that they need to be evangelized. That's the first thing. A new member of the channel. We'll see who it is here in a second. The message is Hell Fury, Jerry Pollock. He's in the LARP camp. He at least doesn't hate Christians on his face. Yeah. Want to interview Exorcisco for Father Glass. Well, I don't know anything about him, but I'll try to remember. Yeah, I'm aware that Crowley was on the cover of the Beatles' first one of their albums. That's not that surprising. Teresa wants to hear my conversion story. I mean, it's kind of convoluted, so I would actually have to outline it at least. And then if I outlined it, I would end up later writing it for a book, but I'd want it to be established enough, something that people might actually read, something that I would publish before I publish that. What was the lady of our apparition when the message been so suppressed? I go into that in my video on it, but she appeared with St. Joseph and Jesus, and they were silent. Some people said it was an apparition to remind people to be reverent during the Mass. But they were looking at it a direction that if you made apparently a straight line to it, it was to an event going on in the Vatican with Pope Leo XIII at the time. And it was, I think, having to do with the message of La Salette. That wasn't being fully revealed. So that's what I've read. And that's what I go into in that video. So you should go check it out. Did I hear about the Satanic Temple successfully suing Netflix over Netflix copying their statue, the devil, and not crediting them? No, but have you ever seen that meme of let them fight? As far as I'm concerned, that's two satanic organizations fighting each other. I'm, 198 watching, 104 likes. Yeah, my thing says 21, so there you go. Aaron Hook, welcome to the being a member channel. It is appreciated. Let's see. Do I believe Trump is the new Constantine? No. I don't, call me Andrew. I do not play video games other than, I have one game on my phone that I play, and it's not even a serious game. Stephen Biancuras, he's a proddy now, but he was a New Age occultist. As long as he's not anti-Catholic, I'd have a conversation with him. I mean, I come down pretty hard on Protestantism, but there are Protestants of goodwill who are subscribers and are active in the comments, and they don't try to recruit people out of the church. As long as you're not trying to lead people out of the church, welcome. This is a great place for everybody. Just don't try to lead people out. But so Constance Cumby's book, she's a Protestant. And you know who she lists as one of the main figures of the New Age movement, by the way? You're going to love this. Teilhard de Chardin. Yeah, that guy is heavily influential in the New Age movement. And I think it was Matt Gaspers had an interview last fall on, I think, LifeSite's channel, where they talked about Teilhard de Chardin. And there are World War II living furries, Westworld story about it, Bizarre World. Yeah, Thomas, yeah, and I know that guy I work with is aware of them because he's almost speechless when I make fun of it. Your local chapel is raising funds for an shrine. Good, more Marian shrines. The flag with the spider, the sound of music. Valentine's the Forest, you mean the bands that were influential in my conversion? None of those. Do I recommend Trad Patrick? He is a friend of mine outside the channel, so I do like Trad Patrick. He's less restrained than I am when it comes to his commentary, but I like him. And I listen to him when he uploads things. Aaron Hook, again, welcome to the channel. Appreciate it. Teresa Rodriguez, it's horribly sad that freedom of speech is being smothered in America, that you can't choose whatever word that you wish. Words are weaponized. So sad. Yeah, it's really astonishing, but, there it is. And, freedom of speech is not exactly a Catholic value either. But I can make a Catholic argument, fully traditional Catholic argument, for freedom of political speech. It's not that hard to do. We are free, how the church defines freedom is that you have no restrictions on your ability to do your duty. And in a culture in a country where people elect their leaders, you need free political speech. Circus comes, was I a Prague? Nope. A Prague? Oh, you mean progressive? I was to the left of the center left. I was generally sort of a pro-Second Amendment guy who was generally suspicious of the James Martin agenda. But, I was much more open to, government solutions for things. And I'm still open to a degree to government solutions for stuff. But I'm not. Now I've run it through the filter of Catholic social teaching. And a lot of government programs fail. Can't find a Catholic Bible in Hebrew. No, you may have to reach out to some of the faithful in Israel, probably, if I had to guess. Spooky guy says you could probably hook me up with an actual Satanist to talk to. I don't want to talk to a Satanist. I want to talk to a former Satanist. Yeah, Benedict XVI said every diocese should have an exorcist, and they don't, and that's true, Matt. They don't, and it's very telling. Cheap Guy is wishing everyone a happy Sunday. Well, thank you for the kind words, Cheap Guy. Yes, definitely keep me in your prayers. I appreciate it. Jimmy Page bought and lived in Crowley's house. If I had the money, I would have bought Crowley's house and then had it torn down. Maybe build a parish there. Hoffman says,
Satanism, Anton LaVey teaches Satan as a symbol for freedom. Aleister Crowley says, do drugs, get in touch with Satan, do whatever you want. It's the whole of the law. Yep, there's a right-wing political ideology that sounds suspiciously like it, too. You do on the video the forced inoculations coming up and our rights to refuse. Yeah, I'm going to have to, and I just need to figure out how to talk about it. Yavo, thank you for the super chat. It is appreciated. The Lodge was very prevalent in Ireland at the time of Our Lady apparition at Knock. There's also an interesting book on the Venerable Archdeacon Kavanagh, who was the local priest. Volodyu Fraslavako, or however you say your name. I butchered it, I'm sure, but I, say hello back. It's going to be hard getting anyone to censor. Michael Bagiakis, I'm pretty sure I could get him on, but one, I don't really do the on-camera thing because I need to lose a bunch of weight. Two, it will probably put my channel under scrutiny if I had him on, is the problem. That's just the reality. If I were to have a conversation with him, it'd probably be for BitChute, and then you would see it show up on his YouTube channel. Play 8-ball pool on your phone, that's about it. The last video game you played was on the Commodore 64. Before that was Pong. Yeah, I play a SimCity game on my phone. That's it. Jonathan Gemmell. The thing about Bruce Dickinson, he's also an Anglican. I suppose you could be an Anglican and an occultist because it's an incoherent sect, but I know he's has some interest in the occult. I don't know if that makes him an occultist, though. Mana, don't worry, I don't think Teilhard's going to get canonized. I think people would riot if they tried that. John Paul II sitting on a throne with a 9 January 2005. John Paul sitting on a throne with an inverted cross in front of an image of an A News report of the Papal. Well, the inverted cross, Byron James, is a symbol of the Petrine office. It always has been, because St. Peter was crucified upside down because he didn't think he was worthy to be crucified the way our Lord was. That's why the inverted cross is a symbol of the Petrine office. But the problem is, most people, one, don't know that, and the other is, Catholics don't typically wear an inverted cross. You only ever see that symbol associated with the papacy. I do like Robert Syngenis, Pictus Ligdum. I don't know what to think of his geocentrism subject, but I do like him, and I need to watch more of his content. Thomas Keller, Creed converted me into not listening to Christian rock. I've found very few good Christian rock bands. Very few, and none of them are anybody I've ever heard of. What do I think of Biden's recent racial comments, Faith Joy? I think Joe Biden is way over his head, and the people who are going, I cannot believe that any polls that are true out there that say he's going to beat the president. I just cannot believe it. Honestly, the very thought of furries gives you night terrors. Thanks for reminding me. You're welcome, Mr. Joy. Yeah, I should reach out to Robert Syngenis at some point. I like him, but I need to watch more of his content first. Doodle noodle. Anton LaVey died screaming on his bed. Onlooker said he was terrified. Of course. Yeah, he found out it wasn't just a LARP. Too bad he didn't have a Catholic priest at his bedside. Could have made a He could have asked for baptism. That would have been his ticket out, probably. Do I think we have the right to refuse testing by American law? The answer to that is show me in the Constitution where the federal government can force you to get injected. Aaron Hook has a comment that I can't probably read about furries, but it made me chuckle. Thomas Keller, I've seen the pictures of Melinda G wearing that inverted cross, and I have one of them, but it's not clear enough for me to use in the video. American Woman, Gregorian chant is safe music. I just can't work out to it. Like him, though, Robert Syngenis writes for his Mad Culture War stuff. Didn't know that Dr. Syngenis wrote for Culture Wars. I should see if I can get something published there. Thank you, Melinda. I wasn't aware that Syngenis did a debate with James White. There's that YouTube channel called How to Be Christian. The guy does not talk controversial stuff. He just talks about apologetics, and I like that channel. He got into some trouble when he was debating James White because he was targeting James White's core thinking, and he didn't do a good job with it, I guess. But he took a break. He's back now, and he does good content. I recommend it. CF Hewling, Archbishop Sample is he is but he also taught himself the traditional mass from tape, so that he deserves some credit for that. You don't have, there sort of is an FSSP parish in the Archdiocese. It's St. Brigida in northwest Portland, but there are 4 parishes where you can attend the TLM on Sunday and 2 for daily mass. I actually got married in one of the parishes in Portland that offers the traditional Latin mass there. American woman, if Hillary Clinton steps in, I'm going to scream. I don't think that America wants to give her a chance. Do I think Biden will be the nominee? If they don't make him the nominee, they're going to have problems. Yeah, Jerry Pollock, that's part of the problem with polls, and the other part of them is when you look at who they sample, they always do D plus 10. I don't know why that is. Can I do videos on the Lodge? I've done videos on the Lodge. Go look up my series, The Origins of the Crisis in the Church. They're old videos, and the audio quality's not great, but there were some. But that's where I started. Melinda R. Again, I don't do any current new people, new seers. But if they can't be active, they have to be gone and vetted by the bishops before I'll touch them. Skirian Brev, did I see the meme that you added at me? A Father Chip Ripper talking about 100 plus 9. Did you send that to me on Twitter or something? I haven't been on Twitter much today. It was an hour drive each way to Mass for me today, so. The state of Maine just passed that forced inoculations, huh? Well, the courts are there's going to be some lawyers that are going to get very famous over getting this stuff overturned. I am not working out to Irish Reels Fierhe, but thanks for the recommendation. That's just... Great former Satanist talked to us, John Ramirez of Times Square Church. He's very genuine in his Christian faith and decent individual. He has a great conversion story. Okay, I might look into him. Dershowitz is not someone I would trust, Mr. M. Cox, just as a rule. Yeah, I see those notifications, but I'm usually in bed by 8 o'clock during the week unless I have to work late at my side job, and that's because I get up at 2 in the morning to make content for y'all. Might link the right to refuse inoculation to the bioethics value of patient autonomy. Right, I'd have to go really do some research on what the church says these days about conscience about bioethics. There is some good stuff coming out of the Vatican still. I'd point you to the 2004 statement by Cardinal Ratzinger on the on voting in pro-Moloch elections. Yeah, Dr. 1980, Archbishop Sample. I heard this from him personally because I was in Portland when I was discerning the priesthood before I discerned out, and he talked about finding reel-to-reel tapes of the Latin Mass in the attic of his cathedral, like film done in the 1940s or something or 1950s, and he taught himself from those how to say the Latin Mass. Hillary Clinton must be the libertarian candidate is using the eye with her. That's just funny. See, I feel pretty sure St. Bridget's was diocesan. It might be diocesan, but I know there's a fraternity priest there. I met a fraternity priest here in Oklahoma who is from Portland, and he says that is that there's a fraternity mass said there. No priest in Salta that sees him often. Bishops can do in Poland what we call it. Dr. Gemmel, it's actually funny. I had noticed for years that I was starting to wake up slightly earlier and earlier every morning. And it got to me waking up at 1:30 to 2:30 in the morning, depending on how late I'm up the night before. And so I just take advantage of it. I have a toddler, and it's a lot easier to record when he's asleep than it is for me at any other time. Plus, I may be at the gym at 5 in the morning kind of person when there's not a lot of people there. And, enough people that if I need help getting, have some dumb accident on the bench press or something that I can get help. But other than that, I like to have the gym mostly to myself when I'm there. Being the fat guy, working out it's a little, I feel a little self-conscious at times.
Well, thanks, Thomas Henderson. And enjoy the replay later. Yeah, just reading comments and chatting with people. So far, a lot of people, no one's asked me about any pointless, controversial stuff going on, and I'm glad because I just don't want to talk about that stuff. Judith Mazur, I hear that Father Karapi is active as a priest, but generally under order not to be a public figure anymore. That's all I've heard. Huh. Rebecca Phillips, I did not know that he went blind, that Zachary King went blind when he converted to Catholicism. I guess that's the price he had to pay. American Woman, I do like the Fatima Center priests. They're very good. They're very good. Sweet Harmony, yeah, I need to get more sleep. It's the first week I was counting calories, I lost 11 pounds, which was great, or 8 pounds or something. The second week I lost almost nothing. And it's too early for it to be just an issue of hitting a plateau, so I don't know what the issue was. Guy G, the gym's being close to making me fat. Yeah, I lost about half of the weight that I gained during the quarantine. And it taught me that I need the gym much more than I thought I did. And Judith, I'm very much aware that I'm looking to have a gym, although it has got me thinking that if the ability to do this for a living continues, I will if that continues to be a thing, I'm going to probably start saving money to buy the basic equipment to have a home gym, dumbbells, a barbell, weights, that stuff, a squat rack. I don't have a garage, so I'd need to probably pay to have one built. I have a carport, and that's not the same. Intermittent fasting works great. Yeah, I want to get the calorie counting down first before I bring in intermittent fasting. Mel Wade, you couldn't find the recording recommended. What I did was I did a search for like Saint Michael the Archangel and UFOs, or Saint Michael the Archangel and aliens on Sensus Fidelium. When you're on Sensus Fidelium, when you go to on any YouTube channel, there's the big search bar at the top, and then a smaller one that's below it somewhere on the screen, and you can go into that one, and it searches just the content of the channel. And I can't really remember it. I might have it bookmarked on my personal YouTube, but I had like 300 videos on my watch later list there, so it takes forever to find anything. Jerry Pollock, there is theory on the bishops that you could not get to prove from anyone you know that bad ones go for confession to mild and good ones to shut them up. That wouldn't surprise me. I've heard that before. Could I get a treadmill at home? I could, but I don't. I just use a treadmill for power walking. I have a bad knee. So, if I thought about keto, I have done keto and I killed my metabolism doing keto. I might eventually go back to keto after I've lost some weight, but I need to lose a bunch of weight first. It's hard to stick to keto because keto is one of those things you pretty much have to go all in. You can't take a day off. Like when I was doing keto, here's my wife's birthday. Well, what do? Well, I would go someplace and I'd have a steak. And, that gets tedious after a while. I mean, that sounds weird, but it does. Norm Babbitt, what city and state do I live in? Well, I live in central Oklahoma. If you want to know what city I live in, there's a mailing address for me in the description of every one of my videos. If you give up your right to reject testing, you give up all future rights, pretty much. Norm Babbitt lives in Portland, Oregon. I used to live in Portland, Oregon. You try to fast from 7 a.m. till 3 p.m. every day. The way to do intermittent fasting is you eat all your calories in a day in somewhere between a 4 and 8 hour window, depending on how hardcore you're going. I just try to get to the 8 hour one, so I would try to have everything in the day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The problem is the side job I have doesn't work for that. What do I think of VaticanCatholic.com? They say that JP2 is the Antichrist. Well, they're wrong. They're not just sedevacantists. Again, I don't have a real problem with sedevacantists per se. These guys are like the grifters of sedevacantists. I don't trust those guys at all. I don't recommend them. Even though they make some good videos on some things, they're wrong, and I don't recommend them. They are explicitly filtered in the comments of my videos so that if anybody recommends them, I have to approve it, which I don't do. Chromium and B vitamins are really good for weight. Yeah. Teresa Nelson, JP2 is not the Antichrist. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of John Paul II, but I'm not going to call him the Antichrist. I mean, that's a little much. Living a life of penance. This is from his former bodyguard. Yeah. Father Crappie's praying for us. There you go. Because he apparently sinned publicly. was a little before my time, but I remember I put like a video up back in the days when my Sunday videos were often like an old Fulton Sheen like radio clip or something. I put a Father Karapi video up, and there was a priest who chastised me in the comments for it. American Woman, yes, I do like the Sensus Fidelium priests. They're very good. Intermittent fasting is very effective. I want to get back to it. Elizabeth Warsh, you have to carb cycle. Yeah, I never got to a place with keto that I was comfortable carb cycling. Because whenever I would have carbs when I was doing it, I would just go overboard. When Father Karapi was on EWTN, he had 3 sports cards, a vacation home, and many status-type possessions. He took a vow of poverty as a priest in his order. Yeah. Cynthia Smith is correct. I'll just let people read it because I can't really kind of way on the fly to clean that one up for what the people are for our totally happy and totally trustworthy host. Someone told you your IVI looks like something from a Quentin Tarantino movie. Yeah, a friend of mine on Twitter made that for me. He took that's Hilaire Belloc with shades. That's all it is. And he just made it, and then he made the verse version, and then a subscriber took and cleaned it up for polished it up for the redo of it. And I'm eventually not going to get rid of it, but I'm going to get a different style of it and change my visual look as I get as I start. I'm going to pay for and learn how to use a much more high-end sort of like video special effects software. Sweet Harmony, with intermittent fasting, you eat everything and don't count calories but lose weight. I'd have to count calories because I can eat a lot. That's how you get fat, right? So, just lean. Beer is not helpful to lose weight. I haven't had a beer in a long time, so vodka doesn't make you lose fat. Doesn't make you fat, no. I don't like vodka. Would recommend the classic approved book, The Dogma of Hell, written by a Jesuit back when they were still Catholic. If it's not very long, I might actually consider recording it and uploading it for a Sunday video. Are those Fulton Sheen videos still up? They might be. Just do a search on my channel for Fulton Sheen. These are probably talks that most people who've listened to him have found. They're not anything special. You can make up the gym time by hiking, especially in parks. Yeah, there's not that many good parks here, especially not very big ones. Intermittent fasting and vegan diets for Lenten fasting traditionally pretty hardcore. Yeah, one of these years I may just go vegan for Lent, but with the caveat that I will probably take my wife's birthday is in the middle of Lent, and so I would probably take like St. Patrick's Day off with her or something, just because I don't want to find myself doing what some guys I've known have done. They gave up meat for Lent, and then afterwards I just didn't go back to it. What do I think about Sue Pitch reading books to kids? Creepy. I thought that a creepy costume story time, gender confused story time was over, but okay, maybe not. Beers prove there's a God and that he loves us, Benjamin Franklin. Yep, Franklin was not wrong about that. Most of Bishop Sheen are up, sometimes translated version with, for example, Polish subs and titles. Right, so like with my Bishop Sheen things that I do, I go find his essays because he takes a very different tone in his writing than he does on his TV show. How do we fast for our Lord? Just go look up some hardcore fasting rules. That's what I would do. Could I do keto alternate days? Maybe. I don't know what the effect on my metabolism would be. At this point, I'm almost afraid to mess with my metabolism. What I need to do is leave my side job, which is at a pizza parlor. That's the first thing I need to do. It'll make losing weight a lot easier. What are my opinions on vaccines? Complicated, I guess. I don't know. When it comes to beer, Colin, I don't like that cheap beer. You see my Portland roots talking when I say that I like craft beer. But I don't like IPAs. They're just too gross. But I'm more of a porter and stout kind of guy. And I don't drink them very often. There's a lot of calories in that stuff. The Dogma of Hell is short, 40 or so pages. Okay, maybe I'll consider recording that, though, for a Saturday video as an alternative to a papal encyclical. Like,
some of those papal encyclicals that I've recorded, like those ones that are over an hour long, those are in the 40-page length. Michelle Obama reads to kids. That's confusing. Yeah, like I said, I thought the costume freak story hour was over. Alcohol is keto. It's the sugar in the cocktails that are the problem, of course. You should limit your intake to 1 or 2 because alcohol is bad for your liver. To lose weight quickly, go carnivore. Yeah, I can't really do true carnivore. See, the funny thing is when I talk about losing weight, I get like a million different conflicting recommendations for diets here. Right now, I'm just counting calories and counting macros, with trying to make sure I get a lot of complex carbs. If I tried doing burpees, I'd probably kill myself if I tried doing burpees. I do, I'm more of a heavy weightlifting guy. Basic rules for fast. The quasi-charismatic religious order that ran the Newman Center at my alma mater, they would on Wednesdays and Fridays have only bread and water all day. Mr. Joy, I don't know about Franklin with the bodies buried under his house, but I do know the stories of him being a fornicator, and that was not a little allegation. That was definitely true. Lots of Bishop Sheen on YouTube. Yeah, Bishop Sheen is probably the most easy to find Catholic on YouTube, to be honest with you. The Yes Minister quotes. Is that the I don't want to say Monty Python, that's the British comedy one, I believe. Toopy Floyd's got to go. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I'll be cutting out here shortly so I can spend the rest of my day off with my wife before I have to go and spend my week prepping for what I have to do on Friday. Any opinions on critics of Notre Dame University and their influence on American Catholic thought, as well as their booty judge connection? Well, the Notre Dame was like sort of ground zero of the corruption of Catholic universities. So I personally wouldn't send a kid there. And the high-profile Catholic figures from Notre Dame don't exactly inspire a lot of confidence in me. Colin McMenamin was raised on Guinness. Yeah. Dieting is a meme. It sort of is. It's the hard part for me isn't getting onto the diet. It's either staying on it, and then even when reaching the goal, figuring a way out to stay on it, but not keep losing weight. It's so easy to fall back into just eating garbage. Let's see. Read good calories, bad calories. Just keep physical. It's sort of hard to. At least cut out white, refined, processed foods, no packaged, refabricated, pseudo-type foods. Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of messages from people, Sean, saying that the information in those articles about the solar minimum wasn't great. Which, I mean, that was kind of the point when I made that video. There's a lot more to that story, and so I'm gonna revisit it. The reality is, diet science has always been really poor because most of it is based on cross-sectional studies. Stuff that was almost dogma 30 years ago is now believed and reversed. Right. Like the best successes I've had dieting were with keto, but at the end of the day, it wrecked my metabolism. Mr. Joy, look at Notre Dame masses and you'll see dog masses is one of the most cringy. I don't want to search what a dog mass is. Are they like rapping the Gloria? I mean, what are they doing? I'm mortified at the thought, but almost intrigued. I liked Burke's letter, Elizabeth Forrest, but I don't think it'll make a difference. Most people don't listen to him. Have a nice night, Colin. I'll be joining you shortly. You know, an Amish elder who left the Catholic faith after his experience at Notre Dame in the 60s. That's unfortunate. Would I consider reading Vatican? The problem is it's owned. It's still got an active copyright on it, so I can't touch anything like that. Look for used copies. They're out there. abebooks.com, eBay is a good place for that. I mean, well, here, let me just go onto Amazon and I'll see. I would be surprised if it's not there. I've got a copy of it, and I bought it on Amazon a couple years ago. All right, Malachi Martin, Vatican. Let's see. It's a paperback copy for $106. Okay.
Let's see. Mass market paperback. Let's see what it says for Vatican. Mass market paperback. It's available for $23.36. Hardcover $20.50 on Amazon.com right now. You can find it. It's there. So Vatican is not out of print, Brendan Muller. It's there. I just verified that it was. Snoop Dogg masses. Many vegetables burn more calories being ingested than calories they contain. Sort of. Rob Johnson. I don't know what this is, but it's gobbledygook. Did your child get a hold of your phone? Yeah, Archbishop Gomez seems to be the holdout for reopening his parishes. I don't know what's going on. You do know that any uni library can get you a book you want if you're a member. Yes, that's true. So, for my research, I have access still to my university, my alma mater's archives, basically, and it's access to JSTOR and all those PDFs, and that's going to be something I miss. I may have to pay for it later. Looks like he sat on his keyboard. Yeah. All right, so this is where I'm going to call it for the night. It's been just over 2 hours, so thank you guys for checking in today. It is appreciated. Thanks for the super chats, and everyone, thanks for continuing to watch the content, and thanks for making my life a little more enjoyable. You all have a blessed week, and keep me in your prayers. It's going to be a big week for me this week, so anyway, you all have a nice one. Have a nice night.